Welcome, my Shumak ladies. If this is your first time and you're asking what is the meaning of Shumak, Shumak means beautiful in the native language of my hometown in Peru. This is Blanky, your friend, and today we're going to talk all about eyeshadow palettes. It's one of my favorite topics when it comes to makeup. I decided to do the eyeshadow palette tag a little bit later, I must say, but I've always wanted to talk about what are the eyeshadow palettes that I like the most, that I use. And when I was watching those videos, they were so interesting. It was nice to see all the different preferences that different people have. So I really liked that video. So that's why I decided to do this. But I hope you can enjoy, and we'll see if maybe we have similar preferences or we are different. It's very interesting to know what other things we can find out. Maybe sometimes we discover nice eyeshadow palettes that we have never heard before. Well, let's start. And the first question is, what is your newest palette? So my newest palettes that I got recently are the 3 new launches from SydneyGrace and the new palette from Danessa Myrix. I really found them interesting, so I decided to get them. And these are such beautiful palettes. I haven't used them yet, and I hope I will be doing some videos about them. Mountain Trail, it's a very nice green eyeshadow palette. It's so beautiful. I really like SydneyGrace's formula, so that's why I decided to get them. I needed to have them. California Coast is definitely a color story that it feels so neutral, movie. It's a very nice color story. I really like. And the one that kind of surprised me a little was the last launch that they did, which is where the wild things grow. These are not necessarily all the colors are used, but it's fun and they look beautiful. And I'm pretty sure even though they could be a little bit more colorful, I definitely think it's gonna be beautiful. And the other palette is the Danessa Myrix Lightwork Volume 3, the Experience palette. I didn't have the chance. I actually knew about the original launch when it was already sold out, so I couldn't get the chance to get one of them. But I found so interesting the duochromes in this palette. No, they are very interesting. It's definitely something out of my comfort zone, but one of the things, I don't know if you can see there, oh my god, it's definitely a palette that it's out of my comfort zone. And soon I'm gonna make a video about these and how they perform doing some swatches. I think one of the things that I like the most from having eyeshadow palettes is doing the swatches. That I think it's the best part. The oldest palettes, which is the second question. What is your oldest palette? Wow, that was a little tricky because I'm actually pretty new at using makeup. It's not that I'm just starting to use makeup. No, but I have been using just few eyeshadows here and there. And I am Peruvian, and I was living in Peru, and there, even though there are brands like Maybelline, L'Oreal, and these other brands that here are mostly known as drugstore makeup, most of the people, at least that I know, usually get some of their makeup from catalogs. Like Avon, we have different brands there, and one of my oldest, the one that I love the most using, was a brand called Essica, and they have a palette in the color Rose Prolong. And this palette, it's just a very mini palette. The color story is pinky. I used it a lot. I don't know if you can see. And it was so nice. It was just a touch. It made my eyes brighter. It looked nice. So I really love them. I really love them. But sadly, this little palette got discontinued. And this was my oldest. But then when I started to hear and watch a little bit more videos about eyeshadow palettes and some of the brands that people were mentioning, I was living for some time in the capital in Peru, in Lima, and since it's a big city, I could get some access to some brands, and one of the brands that is very well known here is NYX. So I check some of the stuff that they have, but usually the brands that are in the States that they had the chance to get there in South America are usually way more expensive than they are here. So I decided to wait and not to get any of them. But I was surprised that I found Catrice. Now this is actually very worn out. It was very well loved. It's definitely not the best quality of Catrice, if you ask me. But I got this the Fresh Nude eyeshadow palette. Being able to see a brand that I have heard a lot in different drugstore videos or makeup videos, it was so exciting that I decided to get it. It was very cheap even there, so I was really surprised that I could get it. It looked very nice and I really liked it, but I think when you start getting used to using some of the eyeshadows and then you start trying new formulas, you discover that there are better formulas out there. And then I had a chance to come to the States. I think the first eyeshadow palette that I was able to get, actually I don't have some of the palettes that I got first, and they were some Urban Decay limited edition eyeshadow palettes. I'm gonna put a picture here so you know what is the palette right now. I can't remember the exact name of the palette, but that was a palette that I had. But it was nice. I really like it. And it was so interesting to me that I had a chance to get it. And it was so exciting. It was my first kind of high-end brand. Most people were talking about Urban Decay and the Urban Decay Naked one. That was the original. I also have that one, but I don't think that was my oldest one. From the palettes that I have, the first one that I had the chance was this Bobbi Brown Crystal Drama that I really like the color story of this eyeshadow. It's very nice. The next question is about what is the most expensive eyeshadow palette that I have. And I think from all the eyeshadow palettes, even though I have just few of the eyeshadow palettes that I actually have paid full price for it. I usually get them discounted. I really want to have the experience to get some good eyeshadows, but I don't actually want to spend a lot of money on them. But I must admit, I think I cave with all the people talking about so many good things about these palettes that I actually got it together, and they are definitely very pricey. And these are the Natasha Denona Purple Blue and the Green Brown eyeshadow palettes. These are so beautiful palettes. I really like them. But again, it was a little painful to pay for how much these are. But I don't regret it because they are really nice quality. The color story, I agree that there are some formulas and some palettes that are worth the money. And of course they're gonna last a long time, so that's one of the reasons I get it. I think that's the most expensive ones that I got in value, even though I haven't paid the full price for them. These two together and all the money I pay, it's the most expensive one. And I hope I don't have to repeat that again. The most affordable palette, I think in so many videos, they have talked about these e.l.f. quads. I actually got them, and yeah, they are nice. But I think in terms of value and quality, the one that it's the most affordable. I think it's the J-Cut Dia y Noche. This is the Noche one, and or night, if I translate it. This one is, I decided to put it in this group because even though this one is around $8, even though that's the price, I actually pay for this like $4.99. And the quality, if you ask me, I mean, these are okay. I can do looks with it, and they are quick, they're nice, but I really like how these shimmers perform. One of the things that I like about eyeshadows are the shimmers. The mattes, I think I would say they're a little boring. But the shimmers, it's what usually captures me from a palette. If I see the palette which is few shimmer, mostly mattes, I don't usually get it. That doesn't usually get my attention. But if it comes like this one, like that, these two rows are actually shimmers, and just this one are the mattes. No, and these are incredible. The way they shine. I am really very how can I say, pleasantly surprised of how good this performed. I think it was Andrea Matilano who talked about them, and I was like, I've heard it so many times that I have to try them. And if you see how beautiful and foil are these shades, it's really something. I really like how this performs. So I think this is one of the most affordable and good quality palette from my collection. The next question is, what's your everyday palette? And for the activities and the makeup that I have to wear, I need to be very neutral and not to be too colorful. For that one, I will choose Starlet in Bloom. This is a beautiful palette, and for a reason. It was a palette that people like for brides, for weddings and stuff. And yeah, this one is a very nice palette that you can actually use, and you have very natural look. I really like how these shades perform. I actually like this one especially. And most of the eyeshadow looks that I have to do is, if I had to do some looks every day, this was the palette that I was using. The next one is about what is your most colorful palette. When the people were talking and doing this eyeshadow palette tag, I don't think I had anything that was too close to be very colorful. Most of the eyeshadow palettes that I have were more neutral. But then when I decided to adventure myself a little bit into color, I discovered that you can make nice wearable eyeshadow looks even with colorful that are not usually in my comfort zone. So I decided to get some, but I was trying to get an idea what kind of eyeshadows are more colorful in my collection. And I think I had a tie in with 3 of them. These from the indie brand Odensai, and I would say Hummingbird. This palette is definitely very colorful. These colors are a little intimidating to me. I really like swatching palettes, and I really like how they look, and I can watch them hours and hours. But sometimes I'm afraid to use some colors. But this one really got my attention. I decided to try Odensai formula. And then I was looking a little bit more, and from J-Cut, Viva la Fiesta, I think this is the, let's say, the drugstore version of the most colorful palette that I have. And yeah, it has some really nice shimmers. But then looking for some other stuff, I discovered that I have the Glam Light. Oh, actually, I had the chance to get these the Michaela eyeshadow palette from Glam Light on a TJ Maxx. It was very surprising to find that one because at the beginning I was like, I don't usually use colors, especially these kind of tones that I feel a little bit more intimidating. But then when I saw this in the store and I saw it in person, I really had to have it. And they are beautiful. And even though there are some colors that are a little bit more intimidating to me, I think there are ways to make it work. So those three, I could say they are the most colorful palettes that I have. The next question is about the smallest palette. And this is a little confusing because the palette is so small or because the pans are so small that I was turned because, well, I have many minis. And even though these e.l.f. palettes are small and they have 4 pans, I also have the BC Art quads that are, yes, they are small. But if I compare the size of these eyeshadow pans with the other BC Art pans, these are smaller than that. So I was a little torn which one to put in this category. And like, again, I'm going to show you. And I also have, for example, I have this NARS eyeshadow palette that it's so small. And the other question is it a palette if it's just 3 eyeshadows or 4? I think it is. Even though they're small like these ones, I think they are pretty small. But if you talk about like eyeshadow palettes that are more than 4 eyeshadows, I would say these are very small. This is the Lorac Mini Pro Frosted Sequoia, which is one of my favorites. So that's why I decided to get that one. So I think those are the ones that I have that are the smallest palettes I have. And the biggest palettes, at the time when this video was very popular, the biggest palette that I had was the Zodiac by BH Cosmetic. At the time, it was one of my biggest eyeshadow palettes that I had when the video of this tag was very popular. But then I found the HB Nervina that I got not too long ago, and to be honest, I haven't been used. I think I used it once, and I really like how the formula went out. This is also 25 eyeshadows, and I think for that reason, for the amount of eyeshadows that I get in this, I think this could be my biggest eyeshadow palette. But then, if you talk about packaging and how big a palette is, I had to show you this. This one is big. It's very big. Even if, let me see. If I compare it to the BH, no, like, it's a little taller, even though there are some, it has a shape. No, this one is still bigger than the Zodiac. And this is the Friends collaboration with Makeup Revolution. And even though, to be honest, I don't like the color story of this eyeshadow palette. I don't. Some of these shades are very nice, very wearable and stuff. But this, I got it because of what it is. The Friends frame. And I am a huge fan of this TV show. I really like it, and I have watched it a lot. I lost the number of times that I have watched the whole show. This one, I think, is the biggest eyeshadow palette that I have. No, so I really like it, and I think I'm never gonna get rid of it. The next one is about the palette that has the best memories. And since I am new to makeup, eyeshadows and stuff, even though I have quite a big collection, but the palette I treasure the most and I think I'm gonna keep it forever, it's the Tiny Marbles by Mel Thompson and SydneyGrace. I learned about so many things. I liked many of the eyeshadows that I have, the collection that I got, were because of her, because of the way she was doing. And I really love how beautiful and kind she was with the way she was showing her knowledge in makeup. She was so beautiful, kind-hearted. There are not enough nice things that I can say about it, even though I've never met her, but I follow her. And the memories that I have related to makeup, watching her videos, talking with my husband about makeup and stuff, talking about some of my friends about the things that I like, they started because of her. And I am so glad that I had the chance to get the Tiny Marbles palette, because it is beautiful. It's definitely one of the most beautiful eyeshadows that I have. And there's another question where this could definitely fit perfect, but I think if it comes to memories, I think this palette brings me a lot of nice memories. For that reason, I decided to put Tiny Marbles as one of with the best memories. The palette that is worth the hype. That's I think there are many that I think are really worth the hype. The one that I could say that I am really happy that I got it after all the hype was the Natasha Denona the Glam palette. I actually had to wait a little bit because every time I wanted it was sold out everywhere. I am really glad that I had the chance to get this eyeshadow palette. The color story is nice. I love each one of the shades here. I think it can work perfectly on my skin tones. I really love cool tone eyeshadows. They definitely grab my attention immediately. And for that reason, I think this one is worth the hype. The palette that was not worth the hype for me, I don't have it actually, but I'm going to show the package of one of these. It was the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk. It was a nice and beautiful eyeshadow palette, and so many people were talking about how beautiful, how perfect, etc., etc. But when I got it and I started to use it, it was like, where is the color? I think because of my complexion, because of my skin tone or my undertone, it was not showing enough. Yes, I have to admit that most of the eyeshadows that I have are usually very subdued, very neutral, trying to just make as natural as you can, because yes, that's actually the kind of eyeshadow look that I like. But this is a very expensive eyeshadow palette, and if you don't get that wow thing, or that like if it doesn't work for you, I was so disappointed when I got that eyeshadow palette because it didn't work on me. But I know it can work on people that probably have lighter skin or really like just a wash of color in their eyes, which is good. It's okay, you know, everybody has different preferences. So I decided to give that to a person that I think will love the most. But then I got the Pillow Talk Dreams, and this one, with the color story being darker, being more intense, this one I really enjoy. This one, it really got to my expectations. But the previous version of this, I don't think it was worth the money and the hype and all the publicity that it got. The next question is about what is your favorite palette from a favorite brand? When I saw the question, I immediately thought of the Tiny Marbles because I love SydneyGrace eyeshadow palettes, singles, and all the products that they have. They never have disappointed me. But since I already talk about the tiny marbles, and I put it in as one of the questions. So I decided to go and give the chance to a different brand. I was checking my stuff, and then I remembered one of the palettes that I was using a lot, and I really like how everything worked in the color story, the packaging and everything, and that is the Love in London from BH Cosmetics. This eyeshadow palette, it's so beautiful. For me, it's perfection in so many ways because the color story is so nice. The formula is really good. I really love the packaging, the artistry in the design. I really love how this looks. And even though I have many of the BH cosmetics palettes from the travel collection, I really love this one. This is definitely one of my favorites, and I hope that the formula in the BH quality doesn't change. The next question is about the most used palette. And that was a tricky one because many of the eyeshadow palettes that I have been showing you already are actually the ones that I was using the most. One that was, I think I consider it a palette, even though it's so small. And this actually could have been the smallest palette in my collection. I have been using this non-stop, the Baby Viva palette, because this is not even the mini. The mini is usually bigger like this one. I didn't thought I was going to love this one, but I was pleasantly surprised. And the way my eyeshadow usually looks, to do it like just with my fingers, not even using brushes or anything, just to do a very quick look. This one is the one that I have been using a lot, and I have this in my purse. But this one, it works perfect for me. I think you can get a lot of use with this one. Well, there you go. Those are the eyeshadow palettes in this stack. It was very fun and also very challenging because from all the things that you really like, you have to choose just one. And I'm so sorry that in some of the questions, I couldn't just pick one, but it is what it is. That's all for today, and I hope that you enjoy this video as much as I did. I will be posting videos in English and in Spanish, so don't forget to like and subscribe. Blessings to you all, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.